Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Now guys, this is just a little video to talk about labelling in plants. Now, one of my absolute pet hates is you go to garden centres or often supermarkets and other garden shops and they'll have plants for sale, but very, very rarely are they ever labelled. And this is really annoying, especially for newbies to the hobby, because you know, there are so many different types of plants, house plants, especially cacti and succulents. As you know, if they're not labelled, you don't know what the hell you're growing. And a lot of them do have different type of care requirements. I have seen the very few times they actually are labelled, it's nearly always wrong. For example, you'll see a euphorbia like this labelled as a cactus when it is actually just a succulent. Cacti are succulent plants as well, but there is a difference between purely a succulent plant like a euphorbia and a cactus, and the care is different for both of them. And I've even seen, the instructions are just so bad. I've even seen orchid plants labelled with cactus labels on them and vice versa. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I see this as just pure laziness from the nurseries that are growing these plants. Like nurseries that are propagating cacti, succulents and other plants should at least label what they are selling. So when they sell them to the garden centres, people know what they are growing and they can look at the care instructions and they know how to care for these plants. And even if you know you're buying a cactus, for example this here. Now I've just stuck this labelling purely for a bit of fun. I've called it a moth orchid. As you know, it's not, it's a cactus. It's actually a Telocactus setispinus. But I've actually just stuck that labelling as a bit of an example to show you how ridiculous quite often you will see the really badly labelled plants in garden centres. I have seen orchid labels and cacti and vice versa. But nearly all the time there's never any labels on them. As I say, I actually bought these plants. Me and Hans bought these a few weeks ago and they had no labels in them, which is typical. We know what they are, but obviously most people wouldn't, and it is ridiculous. It really is. And what do you think, guys, when you go out to garden centres and you see lovely plants there and you want to buy them, and you often end up doing it, but you never know, they're not labelled what the plant is. Do you find it really annoying? And I see it as just pure laziness from the nurseries who sell these plants onto the garden centres. And sometimes they are labelled wrong at garden centres. It's not always their fault. Sometimes they do come labelled on the rare occasions. And when they are labelled, sometimes, you know, people will take the labels out of the pots and put them into other pots. And that does happen occasionally. But most of the time, it is just lucky if you have them labelled. Now I'm going to show you a couple of examples here and why I'm making this video and just scanning this around, showing you all the different types of cacti and succulents that you can get. So to just label, you know, not label them is ridiculous because there's so many different types. This is obviously an air plant here, but most of these are cacti and succulents here. And I've got a couple of care labels. So the few times they do come labelled, sometimes it never ever labels what the plant is, but sometimes they do come with some of the most ridiculous care instructions. Now this one actually came here on this plant here, which is a Telocactus setispinus, that of course wasn't labelled. It was just down as cactus, obviously, and the care instructions here, I have to just read you this because it's ridiculous. Right, everybody knows a cactus grows in strong sunlight. A south-facing position is always ideal for the desert type of cacti. Obviously, the epiphytes prefer more of a shadier, bright, but a shadier spot. But desert cactus, like this one, certainly likes as much sun as possible. So, but this is the care instructions that came with this plant, guys. Now, position. Bright sunlight, bright position, true. Away from strong sunlight. How ridiculous. It's a cactus. Watering. Keep compost moist, but not soggy. True, during the active growing period, but it doesn't mention anything about that. And it says, do not allow the plant to stand in water. Now that's true. You don't want it to go soggy and you don't want to allow the plant to stand in water, but you certainly don't keep this plant moist all the time. It just says keep compost moist. During the winter, you keep this plant dry. You do not give it any water. So it should have said keep compost moist during the active growing period, which is from spring to summer, and then keep totally dry, unwatered, from mid-October until mid-March. But no, it doesn't say that. So if I was a newbie and I bought this plant for the first time and I went by these instructions, I'd be watering it all through the winter and the poor thing would die. So it's really bad instructions. And then it says top tips: remove faded flowers to prolong flowering period, discard plant once flowering ends. And this is the thing that drove me mad, right? Discard plant once flowering ends. So, you know, I actually bought this plant and it wasn't flowering anyway. But quite often you see when they are flowering, it's nearly always fake because they stick the fake flowers in. And by the way, guys, links up above to a video I made on, and it's called Do You Like Them Fake or Real? And it's on about another pet hate of mine when I go to garden centres and you see them horrible fake plastic or straw-like flowers stuck onto them. Again, people who are new to the hobby would think they were real because sometimes they do look very real, but they're fake. And they nearly always cause the plant to die when you pull them out. So it's just horrible. And the spray painted plants as well. Coming up to Christmas now, you see a lot of these in the shops. This wasn't actually flowering, but if it was flowering, and you do sometimes see cacti flowering in the garden shops that are naturally flowering because they're grown under a lot of fake lights and forced into flower, especially a lot of the Christmas cacti and stuff at this time of year. So would you throw it away once it stopped flowering? Of course you wouldn't. So what ridiculous. And that to me is just the most ridiculous care instructions. Now, I actually found this other one. We bought another plant a couple of weeks ago also from Homebase. And this is Homebase is a do-it-yourself shop and a garden centre here in the UK and Ireland. There's a few of them all around the place. And the care instructions were a lot better on this. I'll just show you this. And it said, you know, cacti in carry sleeve. Now, again, it didn't tell you what type of cactus it was. I knew that it was a white-spined Echinocactus grusoni, and I made a video when I bought it a week ago. Probably, well, yeah, maybe a week ago now. A beautiful cactus. I knew what it was, but a lot of people may not have. But thankfully, I already knew the name. Now, the good news is here, this is far better instructions. It says needs good natural light in a cool room. That's good. Now, yes, that's true. A cool room, especially during this time of year for the winter. But it doesn't mention anything about the seasons. So obviously a cactus likes as much sun and can take a lot of warmth as well. So a cool room, I mean, what is cool? It depends where you live. Cool could be a refrigerator temperature, or cool could be 50, 60 degree. I mean, it's very, very vague. So again, it's not very good. And there's a difference between good light and bright sunshine, which a cactus needs. You know, natural light, good natural light can be a north-facing window with indirect sun that's nice and bright. But as you know, a cactus needs sunshine. So it should have really said, good, bright, natural light with sunshine. And then he says, the stupid thing is, again, this was avoid direct sunlight, drafts and heat. Now, yeah, even a cactus doesn't like to be grown under a scorching hot sunny windowsill without ventilation. But you certainly would not avoid direct sunlight. It's a cactus, for God's sake. But, you know, this is still better care instructions than the other one. At least it's not saying to keep it well watered all year. Now it says here, keep well watered throughout the growing season. And that's true. Now it doesn't say when the growing season is, but I think most people would know cacti grow in the spring and summer and they sort of don't grow in the winter. So they'd know that pretty much. That's fairly good. It just says watered throughout the growing season. It says, do not allow the compost to get waterlogged and feed regularly with the houseplant feed throughout the growing season. That's good. Now, if I was to do a care instructions, I would have turned around and said, plenty of sunshine, keep away from intense heat. I would have put keep well watered throughout the active growing season from spring until mid-autumn, fall. I would actually turn around and say allowing the soil to dry out completely in between waterings, because even in the height of summer, cacti do not like to be sitting in constantly wet soil. And I would say feed regularly throughout the growing season with fertiliser. So I'd have said that's a bit better. But guys, it's just a really annoying pet hate. What do you think about plants that you see in garden centres? They're never, very rarely labelled. And when they are, the care instructions are absolutely ridiculous. No wonder so many people find it hard to grow plants, because they go by the instructions, as I did many, many years ago. I'm now, you know, I'm talking about well over 32 years ago when I first started collecting plants, cacti and succulents. I used to go by what it said on the label, which is why they nearly always died when I first started out in the hobby. Thank God I learnt my own way, and I like to share what I've learnt over the years with you guys. So please do not take what you see on the labels as gospel, because it's nearly always wrong. The internet is a great source of information for IDing your plants. If you want to know how to ID your plants, there's Cactus Guide ID and Succulent Guide. I'll put links down below to both of them. Check them out. They're great websites. Photographs might not be the best on there, but it will give you a bit of an idea at least what type of genus your plant is. And that's the best type of advice I can give you guys. So guys, what's in a label? As I say, you have to do your own research when you buy a plant. Just do not go by what it says. You may think you have an orchid when really you have a Christmas cactus. So guys, I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power. As always, from Ireland. Until the next video, guys. Bye. Bye.